We've always believed the reefing hobby is built on more than just products. It's built on people, on knowledge, on passion, and on the communities that keep this hobby moving forward. That's why we're proud to announce that Exodus is officially sponsoring the Reefers Network, a community created for reef keepers by reef keepers, bringing hobbyists together, sharing experiences, supporting stores, celebrating the industry, and helping more people succeed in the reef aquarium hobby. We're proud to support the Reefers Network, and we're so excited for what's coming next.
There you go. Please remember to like and subscribe. Good afternoon, good evening, hello, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to another live episode of the Reefers Network on Friday Live. Thank you very much for those of you that have tuned in. I'm fully aware there is some football on this evening at Spain and Belgium. Please keep me posted in the comments. I want to know the live score. Obviously, you Americans definitely want Belgium to get kicked out, I'm sure. And it's Spain to move forward. Anyway, good evening, good afternoon. Thank you for, like I said, to those of you that have tuned in. Been a couple of weeks since I've been on. Nice to be back. Leo, thanks for coming on, my man. You good?
You're welcome. Yeah, I'm good. A little bit warm, but
like a bit of nerdy chat, don't you? Though I've realised it's like a bit of geeky chat. Put the glow sticks down for a minute and let's get serious. Okay.
All right.
I'll start in a second. Terrell, you good? All right.
Been good, man. Been busy. We actually we took the family to SeaWorld Orlando this week. So
nice.
We took my daughter and her friend and let them go ride roller coasters and everything. So yeah, man, that was fun. It was a good little getaway for a bit.
That sounds like an excuse for you to get on the roller coaster.
I like the roller coasters. I hate the lines, man. I do not like the lines.
So somebody was asking me the other day, the moustache, we always talk, that is a bit of a signature now piece to sort of, you know, Bhutan Reefs. How long have you had the tash for? Because I didn't think it was that long until somebody showed me a high school photo of you that they dug out in the archives, and you've had it for a long time, haven't you? This was like,
you know what? I need that. That right there is epic.
I mean, how old were you? 17, 18 at high school? 16?
Tom, do you have a baby photo, perhaps?
Well, I was just gonna say, for those of you that might be intrigued to see what Mr. Terrell Bhutan looks like without a moustache, there is evidence, and this is a real photo.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yo. That was that was a while ago, man. That was when I first got Mr. Frank, man. He was a puppy over there.
Yeah, looked like you're auditioning from some kind of American boy band. You know, yeah, Leo, you obviously got the fireman's suit that me and Jamie sent over, and you took your new marketing campaign to the next level, because apparently reports have been coming in that you've been doing a new billboard, you know. Heroes and Monsters supporting your reef aquarium from Leonardo's Reef.
It's a very good idea. I'm gonna do this.
There you go. You'll be working out at the gym, definitely.
Send me the file. Send me the file, and
I'll send you the file. You can send it on to your wife. Don't you worry. Dom, you get away this week because your Instagram, you know, was amazing. Thanks ever so much for your contribution on the Wednesday, Thursday Instagram post. They are fun as always. But yes, Okay, so we're going to do coral warfare, which is going to be a little bit techie, a little bit science, should I say, at times. Dong's put an amazing presentation together, as always. For those of you that are either going to be watching it live or for those of you that do catch up and listen to this on podcast, thanks ever so much for those of you that have started to follow us on the Spotify account. Do appreciate the support. But before we start, let's do what we normally do and jump straight in and say good evening, good afternoon to those of you that have joined us. Talking about reefers, fossils, areas, the Reefing Fossil UK. Mr. John Wright, hope you're good. Love you, man. Looking forward to seeing you next weekend, hopefully. It's going to come over to my gaff and pillage me for some free frags. Be nice to see you. Hope you're good. Who else have we got in here? James is here. Mr. Marlett, hope you're good. So is Techers. Hello, hello, hello. Nad's Glass is with us as well. Thanks for tuning in. Mr. Peter Parry. Not spoke to you in a while. Hope you're good. Who else we've got in here? Here she is. Lindsay's here. Hello, hello, hello. Mr. Stephen Owen, you sent me a message on Facebook Messenger. I will get back to you, Stephen. Sorry, I've been really, really busy this week. Do apologise. Grant is watching in Poland. Yes, he's the guy I talk about all the time. He hasn't got a fish tank. He just loves this show. Plenty of the things for you watching. Thanks, Grant, for the support. Hope you're good. Tony Close Reef UK. Thanks for tuning in. Who else have we got in here? Anthony's here, UK 120. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Dirt Devils Reef is with us. A new one here. Brian Howell. What's up, everyone? That's a colourful avatar. CJ's Reef.
Yeah.
Good. Nice to see you. Thanks for tuning in and joining us. Here we are. The Scottish pair that are Tommy and Sharon. Evening, boys and girls. It's hot. It's a hot one up here for a change. Hope you're well safe. Tommy and Shaz. Yes, it is. Just out of interest, for you in the comments that are from the UK, share with us what your temperatures have been this week, because Dong and Terrell didn't believe me when I said we'd have 34, 35 up here in sunny Rotherham. Who else we got in here? Danny Smart, hope you're good. Nice to see you. Who else we got in here? Jackson 6745. Thanks for tuning in. Mayolo Massimo, if I've pronounced that right. If I've not, apologies. Good evening. Hello. Thanks for tuning in. AOI Kumar, nice to see you back in the comments. Alex Ferrara, hello, hello, hello. Here he is, Mr. Acro Killer himself, my favourite moustache in the game. Yeah, talking to you. Terry's here as well. Evening, Tezza. Hope you're good. Thanks for tuning in. And a few more people dripping through. Nick Bro 409, thank you very much for support. Bert FL, happy Friday. If I've missed anybody, as always, I will do my best to shout out. Mr. Reefy Reese is. There you go. Hope you're good. Right. Okay. Coral warfare. So we came up with this one because it's something that we talked about a few times in the WhatsApp group, isn't it? It's something that I think that there's, I mean, you know, Leo, you've got a lot to talk about. Dong, you put a presentation about, as I said earlier, me and Terrell are just going to sit here and pretend, try and look cool. He's got the touch. I'm just going to, I've got the beard. So it's more to Leo and Dong. But we talked about coral warfare as in, there's so many caveats to it that you might not think about, or people might not think about. Yeah, I think most people would think about coral warfare as in contact that we talked about a second ago. The contact of corals stinging each other, maybe, or receding as a result of that. But there's so many more of that. There's so much more than that, isn't there, Leo? You talked about earlier. So you were on about the growth pattern, corals growing, and
yeah, you have very immediate. Coral warfare, which can happen overnight, but you also have a more subtle way of coral warfare, which is a competition for rock surface or flow or light or access to nutrients, etc. So you have very acute ways of coral warfare, but also more subtle ways of warfare in a reef aquarium.
Any personal experiences of coral warfare between the four of us that anybody wants to talk about before we get on to this sort of, this sort of scientific deep dive? Anything that you can share with us? Any mistakes you've made, maybe, that you want to share with the audience tonight? Anything that you can think of? Anything that springs to mind? Who wants to go first?
I mean, I'm sure we've all made the mistake of you put something next to something else that you didn't know was that aggressive. And the next thing you know, you walk out and it is getting smothered by mesenterial filaments and, it's getting eaten over there essentially. So done that a couple times. I'm going to try to find a video for you, Tom. I got a chalice that's eating a hammerhead and it's reaching out about 4 inches, but I mean, it's like Spider-Man over that thing, just eating it up.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Leo,
So,
you've got to have something you can share with us. Come on, Mr.
Well,
Perfect. Come on.
Before I only kept Acropora because that's basically a solution to all this
Yeah.
coral warfare. Just only keep one species of corals. I had a mixed reef, and I had some very nice LPS corals. I think was I'm going astray or something. Just put it on the rock work. Didn't really attach it very firmly. Of course, at some point it will drop down on the middle of some other coral. We'll be there overnight and completely stinging and smothering the coral during the night. And the next day you wake up and you leave. You see one coral with a very big white patch and another coral very stressed out. So always make sure that those aggressive type of corals, which I think every LPS is fairly aggressive or can be fairly aggressive, make sure it's really well attached to the rock work or cannot move very easily. Because even when you space it out enough, if it falls down, it can still do a lot of damage. So,
Tom, sorry, what were you going to say? Anything that springs to mind?
Oh yeah, back like 20 years ago, I talked to a local shop owner. I said, what's your biggest challenge by having a shop somewhere else other than your home? He said, well, the scenario he was looking at is that he opened the door in the morning, walked right in, and watched his $1,000 coral is eating his $2,000 coral. Because they fell over at night. So that is the nightmare he's facing. So that's why have a coral farm actually is a 24/7 taking care of them. So that's the advantage of the home-based coral farm, is that you got a chance before you go to bed and you look at everybody is all right, nobody is falling over, nobody is eating the other guy. That actually makes a huge difference in terms of farming coral. So if you want to farm coral, you better live with the coral in the same household.
I wish.
Yeah.
For those viewers that are watching us at home, any experiences with coral stinging each other, please throw it in the comments. We want to get you involved as much as possible. And if you haven't got any questions, as I've just got one here from Teza now, he's saying, just quick before I move on, is there any coral that would eat any other coral than warfare? Can you rephrase that? Maybe
like an actual coral, like consuming another one, but not through chemical warfare.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
Well, but I'll give you one example. I back in 2004, I purchased this called the Orange Crush Acan Incinata from Live Aquaria. 4 polyps, $160. Back then, that's a lot of money for this tiny little frag.
Yeah.
So I still have that coral, actually part of it, because I keep fragging it. For the past 20-something year, this coral probably ate over $2,000 to $3,000 of other coral throughout all these 2 decades. Because Acan Incinata is so aggressive, it just basically eat anything that can in a close proximity. It doesn't need to be touched. It just 1 or 2 inches away. It just fold its stomach out at night and then cover the other coral, melt it, suck up the juice, and then retract the stomach. So that's why I still keeping him, because he's the most expensive coral I ever have. It's not because his value, because of how much thing he ate.
Yeah. But there are some corals out there that have surprised me in my experience of reefing, because in terms of who will sort of outcompete from a stinging match each other. There is some surprises.
I think there's a hierarchy.
Exactly. That was something I want to talk about. I know you've got a slide you're going to go through. We've got some other points from Leo we're going to talk about in a minute. But I think sometimes you don't like mushrooms. Mushrooms are really aggressive, or can be, in my experience. Yeah. Some of them can be really nasty. You know, I've had one literally take out a gonifrag in here, in the nail stack behind me, and the mushroom was miles away from it. So I know you're on about spacing, but the mushroom just decided, I'm going to move. I want more light. And it just literally moved. And then before I know it, where's the gonny gone? Oh, it's underneath it. Just completely wiped it out. So,
or you can even, bringing up the gonnies, not all gonnies play happy with each other. There's, and from my understanding, there's a bunch of different subspecies of gonnies, and some are good with each other and some will sting each other. So
anemone, that's another thing that's really damaged coral.
I will never forget. My first ever reef tank, I bought a bubble tip anemone because I wanted an anemone. Don't know why, I just did. And I'm going back to the day when, I don't know whether you remember these sort of tanks, or if it was a thing, but there was a certain phase where tanks had to have, they were just full of live rock. I mean, like full of live rock.
Wall.
There was like a wall, and that was the in thing. And I did
that was the thing.
That was the thing. Yeah. And I don't know why, but that's what my first ever tank ended up being, just literally a wall of live rock. And I put it in, I think I put it in this little space because I put the coral where I want it. Oh, back then I did. And then the anemone just went no, and every coral it just touched just literally wiped out within the space of like 24 hours, 40 hours. So that was a big lesson, definitely. There's a question here, sorry, from who we've got here. Bert FL, thank you very much. Can you talk about some soft corals like leathers and others that can affect the water?
Yes.
That's a fair question.
I think Dong will cover that, right? In the
I will cover it. That's in the slide.
Okay.
Yep.
Perfect. Okay. Right. Back to you then, Leo. So a couple of things you want to talk about. Let me start with the first one then. So the obvious one we've kind of been touching on a little bit, no pun intended. Contact warfare.
Yeah. That can be in two different ways. You have the mesenterial filaments, which are basically the guts of a coral that can be expelled, but not over a very long distance. So if you have corals growing very close to each other, I'm taking Acropora as an example. They can basically throw out their mesenterial filaments to digest the other coral or parts of that coral that almost touching, and in that way make clean space for them to expand even further. But for instance, Acropora and Montipora as well, they also do it to kill off the coralline algae, for instance. If you have a very actively growing acro, you can actually see that they completely bleach and kill the coralline algae closest to the base when they're actively expanding the base. So mesenterial filaments are basically to make clear space for a base to expand of a coral. And it doesn't go further than a couple of centimeters, I would say, maybe 4 or 5 centimeters maximum. And then the other type of contact warfare are the sweeper cells. And I think everyone may know that, especially at night, you have corals like Galaxia. I think that's a very notorious one. Yeah. I'm not sure if anyone still keeps those, but Hypnophora is another one. And of course, also Euphyllias, etc. They have some very specialized long.
Bernardipora?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I think, for sure. They have some very long specialized sweepers that basically follow the flow. So it mostly go downstream of the flow. And if it may touch another coral, they will immediately sting it. And in some cases, hold on to it and do a lot of damage on that spot. Maybe have more sweeper cells also attaching there. So if you have a very aggressive coral, make sure it has a lot of space downstream, so where the flow is going, because at night those sweeper tentacles can do a lot of damage. I think that's the most common, except for just accidents where corals fall into each other. That's the most common two ways of contact warfare, for sure. Yeah.
Okay. So just going around the room a second then. So you touched on a few then, Leo. So Dong, Terrell, your opinions on toxic or sort of poisonous corals? Which ones stand out to you as the no-nos? Don't put him next to him or her, or which ones, in your opinion, do you recommend to your customers maybe that they shouldn't be putting near each other? Which ones are you sort of like, don't buy that, don't do that.
Mhm.
Anybody that springs to mind?
Well, for customer, they can buy anything, but it's just where they put it.
Okay, fair enough.
So, for example, that there is Hinophora. Those fast-growing Hinophora. We have this neon green.
It's beautiful.
Really
but,
pretty.
yeah.
Beautiful Hinophora, neon green and grow fast. And then many customers, I want a frag of that. I said, well, if you want that, you basically keep 4 to 5 inches away from anybody else.
Yeah.
And another one is the Galaxia. The Galaxia is well known to be a nuclear blast zone in there. Yeah. So I used to have a reef tank when I just started my hobby. The reef tank is basically a cube. So there is a blast zone in the middle. Basically on those rocks, nothing survived. Everybody dead. And in the center, there's a Galaxia there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's another Acan inclinata. That's another one that can be quite aggressive. And I actually watch it to extend its stomach out of its mouth, cover the neighbor, and melt the neighbor, suck up the juice, just like a vampire, and retract its stomach. Yeah. So the customer always right. They can buy anything they want, but I would tell them, well, if you buy this, you have to give him that much space.
Yeah.
That nearly happened to Terrell in the Instagram video because he was too busy looking at himself in a mirror. If it weren't for you, Don, he nearly got eaten by something. Terrell, anything that springs to mind from yours?
Yeah, I mean, because I'm with Leonardo. I heavily keep SPS, and I don't keep leathers. And because my understanding is leathers do chemical warfare with SPS, and I'm not going to keep them in the same tank. Not only because I do the fish flake for the fenbendazole, and that does kill my leathers and clove polyps and things off, but then also it does stunt out the SPS. And then I'm with you. The inclinatas are just, they're so aggressive. And then again, all the chalices, not all chalices are created equal. You got your Hollywood stunner, which you see in everybody's tanks. Yep. And, I've seen massive tanks full of Hollywood stunner, and there's nothing else around it at that point. But I mean, I've have I call it an orange zombie chalice, but I mean, it's one of my most aggressive chalices, and it'll eat Roger Rampages and damn near everything else. So, and so it's always, knowing what piece is a little bit more aggressive than others and guiding people like, hey, if you like this particular piece, like you said, Dong, give it space, or if you plan on keeping, SPS, then realize if you're going to try to keep leathers, you might have an issue. And I've even had, some SPS keepers tell me like they've seen even like SPS systems, even with Zoas in there, he can tell the difference in polyp extension.
Yeah.
It's funny you should say that about Zoas, because this was something I was going to ask the three of you then just now. Sorry, is so if you've got a coral then that's you talk Dong about a hierarchy. So if you've got a coral that's no, but seriously, if you've got a coral that we've just been talking about that's quite high up there in terms of venomous or dangerous or toxic, whatever you want to call it, if it's, let's say, a small frag, but then you've got an invasion of a coral that's lower down the pecking order, could that coral outcompete maybe? So what I'm saying, I'll give you an example. So if you've got like pallies or zoas and you've got a coral on its own and those pallizoas spread over it, do you think that is that coral, even though it's up there as we say in one of the more toxic or more chemical sort of corals, is that going to lose, or is it going to be able to deal with an invasion of pallies over time taking over?
I don't think so, because I think
go ahead.
I think even growth speed can also be warfare, right? So if the coral is
absolutely
more aggressive,
That's what I'm saying.
if the coral is more aggressive but is able to recover quicker and still grow and outcompete that coral just by growth, it will still win just by smothering. So let's say green star polyp is not very aggressive, but the growth rate is just so fast and so rapid that it will just overgrow the coral even when it's weak.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So that's
Yeah,
definitely
those
true.
are like zombies. So to keep coming, right? You can shut
Yeah.
them down, but they just
Yeah,
keep
yeah.
on coming.
Exactly. Yeah.
Hey Tom, I sent you a
Yeah, I'm
video
just
on Google
going to
Drive.
download it now for you. You three are going to have to pretend to get on for a second and not without me refereeing. Let's have a look. What have we got here? Let's have a look. Oh, wow. Okay. Let me see if I can share screen. Share screen. There we go. Share. You see that?
Almost. Yes. Oh yeah.
Wow, that's a beautiful chalice.
So that's that's that orange zombie chalice, but it's
Wow.
aggressive.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
other chalices, hammers. I mean, I got to give that thing some birth.
Yeah. And then the interesting thing is, why would it do it? Is it competing for space, or is it actually feeding on the other coral? Right. That would be very interesting. I don't know how to research that, but it would be interesting to see what the what the strategy of the coral actually is. Maybe
Yeah,
both.
it looks like it's feeding on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But probably it's also just making sure there will be enough space in the future to expand, growth. And yeah, it's fascinating, but it's a little bit painful to see.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Right, we talked about contact warfare. Anybody in the comments got anything? Let's have a look what we got here. Wow.
But I think we can say
Yes.
every anemone, and that includes mushrooms and zoanthids, I think, are probably the most aggressive, or contains the most aggressive toxins. So I think long term, these are not a very good idea to put together with other corals.
Brian, I was just saying he's got a 24K torch that's just took out a banana torch.
Yep.
Oh, those are expensive.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's another one. That's definitely another one. Not all your torches, whether or not they're Aussies, Endos, and even at that, some you can see them sometimes reaching out and getting handsy and sticking on something.
That's a good point, Terrell. Do you think that how much of a difference then do you think it makes if the species is from a different,
I think
environment?
I think quite a bit.
Yeah, of course. You cannot expect a torch from Indonesia as the same as an Australian torch. And you just put them together, they will think like, oh, this is, we are super related.
But that's how people think, though. But that's how people think, and that's why I'm asking. That's why I'm saying. I just think, interesting.
Well, it's the same if you have two tricolor validas, which are from two different colonies. They're probably even the same species. If you put them together, they will even fight. So you can expect the same from torches, right? The fact that it's another torch doesn't really. In most cases, it will be fine, but you cannot guarantee it will be fine, right? Because
I've usually seen like Indonesians get a little bit more aggressive on space, where they'll reach out and they'll touch like an Australian and kind of stick on it for a little bit.
Talking about corals here, not people, aren't you? Yeah. Okay. I was going to say, put two English people in a pub together, depending on where they're from, they won't get on. Anyway, okay. A few of my comments. Would love to hear about goni chemical warfare. I have acros and gonis and wonder about it frequently.
It definitely happens because that Gonipora is known to produce Gonipora toxin. Gonipora toxin is one of the first marine toxin being studied. That is before the paddy toxin. Gonipora toxin was studied in the 70s, and then it demonstrated it's quite potent in terms of coral warfare. I have seen many examples when people mix a big Gonipora colony with SPS colony. The SPS doesn't look that hot. I mean, not the temperature hot, okay? So, and then after they remove the big Gonipora colony, then the significant improvement immediately they can see on Aquapora. So the Gonipora, large Gonipora definitely can affect Aquapora or other SPS if they stay in the same tank. Yeah. But for small fracs, normally they're fine.
Makes me wonder if Gonipora would have that same effect on like other LPS, like micromucilords or acans and things of that nature.
It seems that the other LPS has more tolerance of Gonipora toxin than SPS. Probably
Yeah.
due to their geographic location, and normally that the like Aussie strawberry shortcake coral not gonna sit next to a Gonipora
Right.
in a while.
No.
There's no chance
For sure.
in a
for
while.
sure.
So yeah, they probably doesn't develop any of the antidote or whatever resistance to that to
Yeah.
those.
It will
You
make you
resource us-
think like.
Go on, Leo. Go on.
Will make you think like in reef tanks we don't really do biotope aquaria like we do in freshwater, right?
Mhm.
But it
Mhm.
might, if you look at coral warfare, it might be a good idea maybe to do that
Yes.
and just make a high energy reef tank or more of a low energy with more your typical LPS and gonios, etc. To not try to combine all the different corals in one system just for the sake of coral warfare, right?
Yeah. I mean, and that's what we've done here, and it's fun because even with all high energy SPS systems, you still notice how it's interesting how one colony will grow right up to the next one, and then they'll sense each other almost, and one will kind of grow around but still keep a boundary. So you can tell they how all
Negotiating.
these subspecies. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting to see those very subtle behaviors and the differences in your SPS colonies, and then also again being able to make the correct ecosystem for LPS in that same way without having to fight against everything.
Reef Water Drop saying my Miyagi is overgrowing every coral it comes into contact with.
Oh,
great.
by the way, the Miyagi torque is not really a torque.
So Austera, right? Austera, probably.
Yeah, exactly. It's Austria. I cannot even pronounce it. Yep. That's
I think
right.
that officially
it's really fast growing.
Yeah, I think Tortuosa officially don't really exist anymore as a species. I think everything is classified as Austera right now.
But if he wants to call it Miyagi Talk, let him call it Miyagi Talk. Stop spoiling the fun. For those,
I think Miyagi Tort is still a valid term because it's more of a trade name, right? So I think Miyagi is fine.
For those of you that are into the football, Spain are winning 1-0. There you go.
Oh,
well done. Belgium losing. Right, back to Reef for a second. We've got in here a question here a second ago from regarding Monty. Good question here. It's interesting how Montipora can grow all around the base of an acro but doesn't kill it.
Yeah, that's why I use Montipora as the platform to stick Acropora on. I drill a hole on the Montipora and then just stick an Acropora on top.
Yeah.
Okay. So you don't use milliput or anything, no epoxy resin, just literally use Montipora. Okay. Fair enough. Interesting.
I think Montipora is weaker than Acropora, right? But
yes.
And it probably grows a bit faster as well.
Mm-hmm.
But
I care less about the Montipora.
I think the acro is still able to push it down even with the growth speed of the Montipora. The acros can keep it at bay.
Question here from EOI Kumar. I'll let you answer this one, Leo. In the SPS hierarchy, who is higher to lower? Pavona, Monty, Stylo, Polypora, Bird's Nest, Acro.
I think Pavona is LPS, right?
Yeah, Pavona is officially LPS. I think Pavona is quite aggressive, to be honest.
Oh, yeah, it is.
I haven't kept it for a long time, but I'm definitely planning on bringing the cactus Pavona back because I think it has a unique shape and texture. Montipora is very... Oh, it disappeared. Oh, it's here on the screen. I would say Pavona is the most aggressive, then Acropora, I think.
Yes.
I think Polypora, Stylophora are actually almost able to touch. They're not really aggressive against each other. And they're definitely weaker than acros, I know from experience. Bird's Nest, Seriatopora is probably in the same range. So I think we had them. I think Stylo, Polypora, and Bird's Nest are like the same level, basically.
Yeah.
They're tiered.
Yeah.
Okay. But I do know the Stylophora and the Seriatopora are very active feeders when it comes to particulate matter in the water column. So they have a lot of very potent stinging cells to catch live foods out of the water. So you wouldn't suspect it because the polyps are tiny, but they are actually very good in capturing live foods.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. That's why we got him on, not just for his looks. He's got a brain in there as well. Thank you very much. Right, okay. I'm going to move on to the next planning. So I'm conscious we have got a slide from Dong as well. Right, next one you want to talk about waterborne warfare. Do you want to explain yourself a little bit on this one, Leo?
Yeah, I think Dong has a very good presentation about this. But in short, waterborne warfare is warfare that's more systematic. So these are chemicals that are released into the water column and just spread through the whole system, either in the same tank or even if you connect two tanks to each other. Yeah. And that is much more subtle and invisible because it just affects the whole coral as a whole. And in general, it's not really short-term very harmful for the coral, but it can stun growth or overall health long-term. And there are definitely ways to combat this and to mitigate this. But I think before I talk too much, I think Dong will take over and explain more about this.
Okay. All right. Come on, Dong. He's itching. He loves his presentation. He's put so much time into it. He's just like, yes, he gets to do another presentation. Okay. Right. Come on then. Over to you, Mr. Dong Zou. Here you go.
Okay. Yep. Coral warfare. Gas mask. Next one, please. Okay. A reef tank is a chemical soup. This is not my word. Actually, it was published in some scientific journal. They said, wow, the reef tank is a concentrated chemical soup. So basically, it has a biological warfare, elemental buildup, and then external contaminant all built in together. Actually, I all borrow these words from scientific literature. So for matter of fact, that sometimes we think the scientific community, especially academic, is pretty far away from a hobby, but actually it's not. They actually pay quite a bit of attention to our hobby because that we are able to keep all these corals in a glass box, which for them is a whoa moment. So there's a lot of study on that to see what's the secret, what is the drawback, and whatever that kind of thing in a reef tank. So a closed reef aquarium is a highly concentrated artificial chemical soup. That is a quote from one of the literature. So with that said, I want to emphasize one thing. Water change is important.
Yes.
Just because of that. Yeah. And then after the presentation, you probably want to go out to change your water. Okay. So next, please. Okay. Coral, from all these scientific research literatures, is very clear. All types of coral, SPS, LPS, softy, whatever, they all release dissolve organic matters and mucus into the water. That's all they do. That's what the coral do. They release the mucus. They use the mucus for support the feeding, and then clear the sediments, and also that protect them from pathogenic invader. For example, if they get let's say if Acropora, they got a bacterial infection, what they do? They slime, shed off the skin. So the bacteria just slosh off from the skin. So they're doing that all the time, or when they irritate it, they will do the exact same. For example, anybody has a green slimer will have that experience. You touch it, or even you look at it the wrong way, it starts to slime. That is one way the coral is protecting itself by sloshing off all the mucus and organic matter on the skin. That's just like they're pooping away all the invasions. Okay. And but that kind but this organic matter that released by coral actually is quite important for the whole ecosystem in the coral reef as well as in a reef tank, because there's plenty of animals bacteria waiting to eat those mucus. And those actual mucus also serve as like a food web inside your tank. So that basically tells you no matter you keep a low nutrient system, high nutrient system, or mud bank there, your coral is going to constantly releasing dissolved organic matter in the water. Okay, keep that in mind. That's why you need to do water change. Next, please.
So don't lick your acros either.
Yeah.
Don't
what?
Don't put your acros in your mouth.
Actually, you can try. It may be surprisingly refreshing.
Okay.
Especially in a 90-degree temperature. Okay.
Definitely.
So this paper actually classify all the bioactive compound that coral drop into the water according to different species. So you can see, look at the pie chart.
Wow.
The 28% and the blue one, red one, and green one, and the purple one are the majority of the coral species that love to put chemical into the water for chemical warfare to deter the other corals' growth. So look at the 4 photos on the right-hand side. So they all belong to like the leather coral, finger leather, toadstool. Those coral are the one that you should not keep with your aquapora. You may do fine with Montipora, a bird's nest, but for aquapora, where you keep this type of coral with aquapora, yeah, you're asking for trouble. Because that this leather coral basically is constantly releasing chemical to suppress, to fight the other coral. So this coral, even though they are wavy in the water, attractive, and lots of girlfriends and wives really love them. So I've seen so many husbands are holding up. No, I'm not gonna get that. Oh, honey, I want that. So, no, so that kind of situation. So a leather coral is much better to be kept in their own aquarium. Well, here comes the excuse for you to set up a new tank. So, oh, honey, you want the leather coral? Yes, let's go out and buy the 400-gallon tank just for your favorite leather coral. So that's the thing. What happens if you have a leather tank linked to your LPS tank? Of course, if you link your leather coral tank with your SPS tank, you're asking for trouble. So we're not going to go to that. So what happens if you link a leather coral tank with an LPS tank? You can put activated carbon in the overflow box of your leather coral tank. That significantly can reduce the amount of toxin that released by leather coral to enter the rest of the system. Let me tell you one story. Many years ago, I met a professor that worked in marine biology. So she told me that she's collecting the leather coral's toxin for research. I said, wow, how many leather coral you need to kill to get enough chemical to study? I said, no. All she does is that just put activated carbon and resin into the coral, soft coral tank. And then she can get enough chemical extract from the resin and carbon.
Interesting.
Without even blending up killing the coral. It's that much of chemical they release into the water column.
So how did she mention how she pulls the chemical back out of the carbon and resin?
Oh, actually, she has resins and extract them. Organic solvent extraction. So that is not going to happen to normally the home aquarium because those are very harsh chemical to do the extraction, to extract the chemical out of the resin and carbon. Yeah. So that's not going to happen to at home. So those solvents are so okay. So that tells you that leather coral is a #1 enemy for your aquapora because they release that much of chemical. So let's go to the next slide, and then we can see.
Just before we do, what sort of signs would people see or would they experience if they had a mixed reef and had leathers and had different corals? what signs would somebody see at home?
The first sign is that lack of polyp extension.
Okay.
Second sign, color fading or browning. Probably color thing. For example, that I keep all the letter and LPS in their own system. There's no SPS. There's no aquapora in that tank. So I like to do experiments. I put a PC rainbow color, bright red tip, green base, and pink and yellow in between. I put that into my system, the LPS and letter system, overnight turn brown. Is that bad?
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Okay. So.
Yep. Sorry. Next slide then. There you go.
No problem. So then, what exactly are these compounds doing? This is a classification of the type of compound that coral release into the water. So you can see that the majority of the compound, the blue part of the circle, is cytotoxic. Cytotoxic compound means that the compound is able to kill and damage living cells and cause them to die. That's a cytotoxic means. So that means the majority of the chemical coral put into the water are trying to kill the other living organism. That's the type of compound, cytotoxicity. And then the red part is anti-inflammatory. That means that like a Tylenol or ibuprofen. So they have a different. The reason they have that probably is a semi-beneficial anti-inflammatory. So during infection, whatever thing, and it's possible they release this compound. Well, why they release compound is not well understood, but they do release this compound maybe for self-healing or something like that. And then the third type of compound they release is antibacterial, the green part, the lime green slide on that pie. And that's very self-explanatory because that coral they produce antibiotics as a self-defense mechanism. The kill off the infectious bacterial virus. So that's but think about this way, they still put the first priority is cytotoxicity. That means that the first priority they release compound into the water is to kill other things. Then they can have the space is for competition. That is truly the chemical warfare. Yeah. Okay. So next slide, please. And then not only your coral are releasing compound, the bacteria, the microorganism living on the coral, associated with coral, also doing the same thing. They also dump compound, release compound into the water. Well, you can see the majority of the compound that a bacterial release is actually antibacterial compound. So basically, it's a chemical warfare for fighting for living space.
They're trying to kill off the competition, aren't they? Not about themselves. They're just trying to get rid of everybody else.
Yep.
Try to kill off each other. So basically, in this box, to sum it up, in a glass box of Reef tank is basically life and death situation. Constantly. Coral killing coral, bacterial killing bacterial, coral killing bacterial, bacteria killing coral. That is basically a constant chemical warfare. Regardless you have 100 ppm of nitrate or you have no nitrate, regardless you have 1 ppm of phosphate or 0 ppm of phosphate, doesn't matter. Always a chemical warfare happening inside the reef tank. So do your water change, people. So that is another example. Those no water change method probably is the time bomb waiting to explode.
Even more so if you've got a mixed reef. The more different species, the more
absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially you have a leather coral. Right. You have a soft coral reef. Yeah, you better change your water.
Well, if you have a
Otherwise,
leather coral, like you said a minute ago, sorry, you need to go and get another tank, don't you? That's an excuse.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's a perfect excuse to get another tank and get new light, new equipment, new doser.
Even better. Okay. So that's it. That is really interesting. So they're all just literally programmed, to focus on killing the other competition, not about looking after themselves necessarily. That's the third sort of most important bit.
The first priority is to kill other things. That is what they do. License to kill. Bond. James Bond.
Oh dear. Okay.
Yeah, next please. Okay. There is something also very important in a reef tank. Sponge. Okay, chemical warfare from sponge. Actually, this is a pretty overlooked topic in a reef tank. For a mature reef tank, we always have a lot of sponge growing. But the sponge actually is responsible for a lot of chemical warfare, as well as the benefit part. So basically, sponge is constantly releasing metabolite chemicals into the water column, as well as taking up the other chemicals or waste and filter them and eat them. So sponge is basically a love-hate relationship.
Yeah.
It's a very good filter, as well as a very potent chemical bomb. That is one important thing, is that do not kill your sponge in your reef tank if you want to remove them. You always remove them intact. When they're overgrown, or if you want to scrub a rock that overgrown with sponge, take that rock outside of your tank, put it in a bucket, fill it with tank water, and scrub away. And then rinse the rock well in a tank water and put it back.
Yeah.
Don't kill your sponge inside your tank. Yes, otherwise when they die, they just like chemical bomb.
What about some fish that naturally will eat sponges then? How does that
That's fine.
Okay.
That's fine, because the sponge is not being crushed, killed. They actually also just a small part enter the fish's mouth and stomach, and then the fish will have internal mechanism to deal with all the toxins, whatever, saying that for those fish. And then they poop them out. It's like a filter. Okay.
And you can see whenever you like rip sponge off rock or you're messing with it, you can actually see it release, a little puff of.
It looks like
exactly.
pollen. Looks like pollen, literally. Like in the tank. Yeah.
Yep. So next slide, please. Okay, so that's why we talk about the love-hate relationship. One of the important things is that, guess what? The sponge actually containing a huge amount of bacteria. For example, like 30-something% of weight of sponge bacteria.
Okay. How much of it's good and how much of it's bad?
Hard to say.
Okay.
Hard to say. So sponge is that's why sponge is a good biological filter, but also is a time bomb.
Yeah, because if it sucked loads of bad stuff up and you start cutting it up, it's just going to, like we were talking about, refusions maybe to an extent. It's just going to throw it back in again, isn't it?
So exactly. So sponge is critical to a healthy reef tank. For example, when you see a reef tank with a lot of sponge growth, that's a good sign. But if you have a lot of sponge growth around your coral, that's not that good. So let's go to the next slide, please. Okay, so we talk about that a little bit ahead of time. I want to see the next one. Wait, just keep going. So because we talk about all of that,
don't mess this presentation up.
Yeah, sorry about that. So to talk about the beneficial sponge, we all remember. Well, some of our old reefer remember Steve Tyree. He published this paper, this method called the cryptic zone method.
Yeah.
Basically, it's an area to fill with all sorts of sponge as a filtration. That method is like 20-something, close to 30 years old now.
Yeah.
And yeah, basically, you just fill your sump and refugium with a lot of sponge. And by the way, he was selling the sponge at the time. You give you a sample of this sponge and that sponge, collect from his cryptic zone and sell it to you. It actually works pretty well.
Yeah. I also sell my
Yeah.
sponges to my customers
Yeah,
to seed
yes.
to seed their tanks. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are these the ones that you've used in the shower, Leo, or are these out the fish?
Yes, all used by myself with proof, and then photos,
Yes.
everything. Yeah.
Now with the sponge usually ends up, from my understanding, eats that like slime, processes the slime and then kind of grows off of that. Yes, maybe.
Yes, the sponge does grow. Does absorb the slime. Yes, they do eat the slime, and then they released nutrients to feed the next level of little microorganism. So basically, they call the sponge loop in the ocean. So the coral release mucus and sponge eat the mucus, the sponge, and then produce nutrients to feed the mini starfish, and the fish eat the mini starfish, and then fish poop. The poop fertilize the coral, and the whole cycle keep going. They call the sponge cycle.
The question here from Eowai Kume is saying that whenever I do carbon dosing, my sponge population grows.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh yeah, that makes sense, because that sponge actually very effectively by eating these these chemicals like ethanol, acetate. Yes, the sponge actually consume that. Oh, the more important thing is that there is one paper I read. The paper is saying that the scientists finally figure out where the phosphate goes on the coral reef. They go to the sponge. The sponge on coral reef is the major nutrient sink for phosphate.
Yeah, and then at the same time they release particles, right? That can be consumed by corals again. I think what Kumar said about carbon dosing also, of course, carbon dosing stimulates bacterial growth, and the bacteria are then consumed by the sponges. So it's indirectly also a food source for the sponges.
Yes. And also that the 30-something% of the biomass of a sponge actually bacterials.
Yeah. Dong, are there any bad sponges that you can end up with in a reef tank? Any sponges you don't want to have in your reef tank?
For a matter of fact, So Leo, please.
Yeah, I would say I think that the beneficial sponges only grow in the dark or in the shadow or near dark. But there's also type of sponges that actually are growing in the light. I think you have that black sponge that people sometimes, at least in the past, they had, which can be a pest actually, and just keeps growing and overgrow corals, etc. So I can imagine these are also more chemically aggressive because they're actually directly competing with corals because they can grow in the light. But in general, that's purely based on just what I think. I think sponges that grow in the dark don't really have to compete with corals that often. So probably they are not that directly competing with corals. And sponges that grow in the light, you should be very wary of those.
I've had some sponge in the past where it was almost like cobwebs, almost like a light film that would grow over the rocks, and it would kind of move. It would move in the shadows, but it kind of started moving onto some of my torches, and it would run up the base of the torches, but it would right at the flesh. But they wouldn't really fight, but it would really, it was pretty aggressive, I would say, and it was kind of kept an eye on it. You couldn't scrub it off because it would just come back, and you can notice it would spread a little bit too. So yeah,
exactly. I remember there's one customer brought in a torch. She said, well, for some reason the torch is not extending its polyp and it's dying. So I look at the torch, is that basically the sponge is all encrusting all around the torch. There's very little fresh bang left on the torch head. Then I told him, well, it's a hopeless fight, and then what you can do is a toothbrush, So he used a toothbrush and then brush it off. Then several days later, the sponge come back. Eventually, the torch is just gone, just dead, choked by the sponge. So just like Leo said that, the sponge growing in the dark, in the sun, quite beneficial. They're not physically competing with the coral, but a photosynthesis sponge or the sponge actually grow really rapidly in a display tank. That is the type of sponge you probably want to control.
Okay.
Because that's another type of besides chemical warfare, this is another type of the structural warfare, the contact warfare as well. Even the sponge can be weaker than the coral, but they're like zombies. They keep coming, just like the game, zombie versus tree, something. Next, please. Okay, here we can the late Jay Adams. He's the one that really does not like sponge. So this is a photo he posted that even though those the photo on the right hand side, even those pallies a piece of crap. Sorry, but pardon my language, but the sponge still outgrow them and choke them up. Wow. So in this kind of situation, the best bet is to take your favorite toothbrush from your significant other and start to scrub away, and then quietly put the toothbrush back, as pretending never touched that. Then you can have the opportunity to sleep in the garage without AC and TV.
Well, some sponges defend the sponge for a second. They are quite colourful, aren't they? And some of the growth.
Oh yeah, some of them is really pretty. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I see people have sponge aquarium. So basically, the whole tank is different kind of sponge. Very cool.
Yeah.
But sponge has another thing. Next slide. Okay. So we talk about remove the sponge is many removal with gloves. Actually, there's some sponge can burn your skin for sure. First-hand experience. Sometimes sponge just have blisters on my finger. Wow. Scrub the excess sponge outside of the reef tank, and it's a good chance to keep a Moorish idol.
Yeah, for a week or 2 weeks. And then...
Oh, for matter of fact, there's a friend of mine actually. He come here to get my sponge to feed his Moorish idol.
I do have another fish that
well.
I have another fish that eats sponges that is not well known to do it, but it worked for me every time, which is a fox face.
Oh, really?
Yes. I had some sponge growth on and under my frag racks at some point in one system, and I accidentally found out the fox face got rid of it in a week. And then I tried it out in different systems as well, and they will eat it every time completely. They will also start eating on your acros at some point, but they do eat your sponges.
You've got plenty. Don't worry about that. You've got plenty. Yeah. You can lose a few.
I think Mr. Leonardo just caused a worldwide shortage of fox face.
Well,
they can have mine. You can have mine for free.
Incidentally, can you buy them on Amazon? Incidentally.
Apparently not, because Jeff Bezos does not sell live fish.
Just checking.
Hey, Jeff, start selling live fish. Hear me?
What's the scope of sponges when it comes to them being out of the tank? Sorry for a second, in terms of getting in air contact, because from my experience,
that's a miss.
Okay, that's a miss.
That's a miss. Yeah, because when I handle my sponge, I don't even. Yeah, they're exposed to air. They're just fine.
Yeah. They also come in with live rock, and live rock is basically damp and dry for a couple of days during shipping, and the sponges will still survive. And if they die off partially, they will come back at some point. So
yes,
that's interesting. Because I can remember buying one in my early days. Personally, I can't remember which one it was. It was sort of a blue sort of coloured one, and
the blue
ones. In the shop, I was strictly told you can't. Got to always be in the water. Don't let it get air contact and this, that, and the other. So yes,
that's old miss, old wife tale.
It's a myth.
Yeah, it's a myth. But it's very good for keeping flame angel though.
Yeah.
Like lemon peel angel, flame angel, as well as coral beauty. Oh my goodness, they love it.
Yeah.
They love those sponges.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So chemical warfare between algae and coral. So now is the time to answer the one of the question that we asked earlier. The algae and coral. So basically, seaweed is known to suppress coral reproduction and the egg recruitment. That is in early studies.
Yeah.
And then algae also can directly poison the coral.
Yeah.
Blah 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 through the contact. That's also well known. And also algae also can enhance coral disease by releasing some compound that stimulate some of the bad bacteria to grow to kill off the coral. Here's one of the famous experiment. You can find them on YouTube. It's by a professor in University of California, San Diego. I forgot which part. So the experiment is very interesting. So he has a glass tank with a separator and membranes in between. The membranes is so fine, it can allow chemical to pass through, but not allow bacteria to pass through that membranes. I didn't put it on a slide because I cannot find the original paper. So on one side of the tank is macroalgae. The other side of the tank is acropora. It's separated by a thin divider, a membrane. So then he measured the bacterial count, like the Vibrio, the pathogenic bacterial count on both sides of the tank. So initially he can see the bad bacteria, the pathogenic bacteria, start to multiply quickly on the algae side, because the algae is producing chemical sugar to stimulate this bacteria to grow rapidly. Yeah, so he can see the bacteria is rapidly multiplying on the side that containing the algae, but not on the side containing the coral. Then the chemical released by algae can pass through this barrier, but not the bacteria. Just the chemical released by the algae pass through to the coral side. And then, of course, that pathogenic bacteria always exist in the water and on the coral. Then he can see the pathogenic bacteria start to multiply rapidly, fueled by this compound released by the algae on the coral side. And then eventually that kill the coral. Yep. That is one of the famous experiments done on this. So we can go to the slide. Yeah. So this is actually on the NBC News. We should not trust any big media. Whatever. But here's the saying: is seaweed unleash chemical warfare on coral. Yeah, that's official, isn't it? If you can Google it, even NBC released it. Yeah, that must be true.
Wow.
So yeah, next slide.
Now this goes back to the idea of using like urchins to prep places for spawning for the coral to lay on.
Yeah.
Like because the urchin just mow down all this clean the surface, right? Yeah, and also clean off all the algae. So how algae kill coral? And this is a paper published by it's so small I cannot see. Whatever. By the University of California, San Diego, and Scripps Oceanographic Institute. That is really the top notch, the Harvard level for the oceanographic research. So how the algae kill coral? So the conclusion is that algae release sugar, filling the bacterial growth on the coral. Then the bacteria suffocate the coral by cutting off the supply for oxygen, and also stimulate pathogenic bacteria to kill off the coral. So marine macroalgae kill coral by chemical warfare is well established, well studied, like more than a decade ago.
Yeah.
That's
It's
really
well known.
That's really
Yeah.
interesting. Then.
Yes.
So
But
I'm assuming you're a no go for a refugium then.
I removed all the macroalgae refugium years ago.
For this reason.
Only
That's why I
cryptic
use a
refugium.
Xenia. Yeah, I have a cryptic. Well, you really don't need to go that far as cryptic, but just dark some. Yeah, there's so many sponge, and also Poison Xenia.
But
as
Xenia
refugium.
also release a lot of terpenes, other chemicals that slow coral growth, right?
Xenia actually, according to the one of the paper by University of Cairo at 2012, Xenia actually produces lots of these terpenes.
Somebody's been rehearsing for these questions, Leo. In case
no, because that paper is one of the paper I used to as the foundation to fund one of my company.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, yes, but it no longer exists. So
I cannot win this argument.
I'll let you started. Sorry, let him finish. I'll let you finish.
That is Leonardo is absolutely correct. They isolated about 60 different unique compounds, like terpenes, whatever, from Poison Xenia. Yes, Poison Xenia actually is a really chemical rich. The good thing is that they hold on to those chemicals pretty well. Yeah, so that's a good. They in order to get those chemicals, they have to do the organic solvent extraction. So by just looking at the water level, it's too small.
All right.
So yeah.
Good to know.
Okay, let's go to the next slide.
You still awake? You still awake, Terrell? You still?
No, I'm listening. I'm listening.
Okay. Now here's a study to further demonstrate what the algae do. So the scientists extract the chemical from the algae and apply them to coral. And look, this study is very interesting. So look at all these bars. The gray color bar is the control. That means that they're measuring the photosynthesis activity. So the shorter the bar is the worse the condition in this case. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can see that the A is Montipora. So and all different kind of algae extract. Yes, definitely some of them algae is pretty potent to damage Montipora, but the Montipora is pretty resistant. So you can see a lot of tall bar, black bar there.
Yeah.
When you go to B, Acropora, that is really significant difference. So you can see that in the B, in the middle column, Acropora actually get affected by so many algae's metabolite, the compound that from the algae. Yeah. And when you go to Polypora, oh my God, that thing is basically just dying left and right. So there's one interesting thing that,
One question: if you talk about these different compounds, do you know anything about the concentration and how that translates into a reef tank? Does it translate to a small patch of algae, or does it need to be completely overgrown? Right. What is the
excellent question? The concentration wise, well, if I'm not mistaken, so small patches is not a big deal. You need pretty significant. For example, like refugium size.
Yeah.
For example, that a refugium to be effective to reduce nutrient, it has to be certain size. So some people said that it has to be as big as your main tank, but well, that's a little bit exaggerating. Could be. Well, maybe it's true, but you need quite a lot of macroalgae to have this kind of effect. So if you have a patch of Polyps or whatever algae, don't worry about it. That is not going to be the main problem. So when you have patches of algae in a reef tank, the contact warfare maybe is more important than chemical warfare. But when you have a refugium filled with macroalgae, then you should really consider the the chemical effect from the macroalgae, the chemical warfare. So that shows you different type of coral from this slide that actually responds to this the different kind of algae.
What about the die-off, Dong, as well from macroalgae? Because a lot of macroalgae will just
when macroalgae die off, you're basically releasing everything in the water. It's a bomb. So we always remember that people talk about, the refugium goes sexual, and then all the macroalgae melting, and then take your tank with you.
Yeah, in the Calliope, I can experience from that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let's go to the next slide. I stole a photo from you, Leonardo. That's your photo. Oh, by the way, many of my customers ask me this question: how can they buy coral from Leonardo's Reef? I said, well, I don't know.
Well, if you immigrate to the European Union, then it's definitely possible. Come to Amsterdam. It's a very nice city.
Yeah, that's a very pink.
Absolutely.
That's a very pink tip you've got there, Leo. I'm sure you've heard that.
Yeah, I know.
Twice.
Very, very thick and girthy. I know. Yeah.
Okay.
So this study actually shows the interesting thing is that it shows that Aquapora is really sensitive to algae extract, the algae's chemical warfare. But Montipora is a lot more resistant. So in this graph, the same thing, the shorter the bar. Actually, let's see, Montipora. No. This in this graph, the taller the bar, the worse you get. Okay. So you can see that Aquapora definitely is a lot more sensitive to the algae's chemical warfare than Montipora.
Yeah.
So that's why probably that's why people think Montipora are easy to grow. Or maybe it's just because your refugium is killing your Aquapora, but leaving your Montipora alone. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, that might be translatable to the chemical warfare from the coral to coral as well. Because on my just from my first-hand experience, on my LPS and leather system, for Montipora, they grows perfectly fine. Vibrant color, they grow perfect. But when I put an Aquapora in there, the acro suffers. So this kind of effect could be translatable to coral warfare.
Yeah.
You just don't think people don't think about that. They think about just nutrient control, don't they? Literally don't think about it.
Water change is not for nutrient control, people. Not only for, it also works really good on nutrient control. Water change is basically to combat the chemical warfare. Activated carbon also very effective in that case. But unfortunately, activated carbon loses its potency rapidly in salt water.
Yeah. And you can also add you can also add UV and ozone to that list. They also break down a lot of those different compounds.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
But UV and ozone has one drawback though. The thing is that if you dose some of the, for example, if you dose chromium, you might oxidize the chromium 3 to chromium 6 and become highly toxic. So
so ozone should be used very limited.
Yeah, very limited.
Same with bromine, right? Bromine is also.
Bromine. Yeah, bromine is a big trouble with ozone.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, let's go to the next slide.
There's a few comments. There's a few comments regarding the macroalgae conversation that we're having here with the refugium. Then, so are we saying just can people not have success by using one though? Because I've seen some tanks that look good with running refugiums.
Yes, it depends on what kind of algae they use and how big the refugium is, as well as what kind of coral they're keeping.
Okay. Yeah. Plus,
for example,
it's also not an argument because maybe the tank looks better without the refugium, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because before I remove the refugium, I cannot imagine what kind of color and growth right now. But at that time, I'm pretty satisfied. I said, look at that. They grow really fast and they look colorful. But then after I move the refugium, holy crap, I have no place for this coral anymore.
You noticed such a difference then, did you, personally?
Oh, I noticed a big difference. A big difference. And my refugium used to be pretty big.
What I read is that if you keep the Caulerpa and the more the classic macroalgae that were used in refugia, they are more harmful than the Chaetomorpha algae,
Yes.
because Chaetomorpha doesn't really grow on surfaces, so they don't contain a lot of those combating chemicals. I don't know if that's true, but
Oh, that's absolutely true.
I think if you use Chaetomorpha, it's actually not that harmful if you use a little bit of carbon.
Yes. Let's go to the next slide.
Okay.
Yeah, hopefully.
Terrell, what's your take on refugiums?
I used to run them, and I'm with you guys. I've gotten away from them over the years, and I've never, I haven't ever implemented it again. I've really gotten away from the macroalgae. I've kind of gone to a method of just stuffing the sumps full of live rock, promoting a bunch of sponge growth in there, and then just letting it ride.
Because there was such a thing, sort of like, I don't know, 10 years ago, you were getting reactors with lights on them and all that stuff. No, but you were, I'm telling you, some idiot bought them,
Well, the main drawback for me was always that refugium is never stable. It grows, so the nutrient uptake is also not stable. So you have to mitigate that difference in phosphate and nitrate uptake. You have to give extra traces to let the macroalgae grow. So it's another thing to take care of, right?
One thing I will say though,
because a refugium is a major competitor for your trace element over coral.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So
I do remember that.
Go on.
Oh, sorry about that.
Go on.
Yeah. I do remember I read a paper before. That's responding to Leonardo's question about the Caulerpa versus Chaeto. So on that paper, it lists the Caulerpa is the number one. That paper basically analyzed different species of macroalgae and the ability for them to release chemical in the water. So there are probably about 8 to 10 different species of macroalgae. So Caulerpa is the number one, the top, the worst.
Yeah.
And Chaeto is at the bottom, the least. So Chaeto probably, in terms of chemical warfare, probably is pretty weak. And also, there really not a lot of study on Chaeto chemical warfare's aspect. Also, that's the only paper I remember I read. Yeah.
One thing I always remember with a refugium is that what I was always told is it's all about the surface area, because anything underneath that isn't getting the light isn't going to be
that's true.
growing at the right sort of pace. That's why people started balling it, didn't they? They started turning over the
rotating ball.
The rotating ball. So you like a kebab sort of on a spit or whatever. For that reason. The only thing I was going to say though, in sort of defense for refugium, from again times that I've used them in the past, they are really good at growing your pods and your critters and all your little bits, especially if you've got a lot of wrassers in the tank, because it's a bit of a holding zone for these sort of things, because nobody's going to eat them. They all tend to be underneath you in your refugium.
Yeah,
I think your some do exactly the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's what Terrell said. It's fill up your sump or your refugium with a lot of live rock and just don't give it a lot of light, and you will still have that sponges and all the isopods, all the different pods growing, and just without the algae.
Yeah, you're looking at it like I think you're seeing the refugium, and you just happen to see them all congregating underneath the Chaeto. And if they don't have that place to congregate, then they're going to go back into the rocks and back in everywhere else.
I also remember times where people seemed to be more bothered about the growth that they were getting from their algae bed than they were the corals.
Yeah,
all this algae will grow.
But that's why the algae farmers.
Also because their export method is so dependent on the growth of the algae. If they don't let the algae growth, if they don't keep up the algae growth, they will have issues with their nitrate and phosphate levels. So it's just so much more to worry about than just get a bigger skimmer and replace your filter stocks a bit more and do some more water change.
And change your water?
Yeah. Anyway, next slide.
Yeah,
Sorry.
next slide. Okay. So this is some of the nasty algae that really putting chemical into the water. So we already talked about that. Let's go to the next slide. Well, the good news, there's always hope. Just look, and also the layers. So then the good thing about that is that most corals will rapidly recover from this chemical warfare from algae. So if you have a refugium and leaching all this chemical at this moment, by taking it out, and your coral can recover quickly. No long-term effect. Well,
there was a comment a second ago. Sorry, Don. There was a comment a second ago from AOI Kumar saying, at the speed some people grow corals, we will see Montipora refugiums in a few years. Now, that got me to...
It's already happening. It's already happening.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say that.
Yeah, that basically, though my SPS system, there's a lot. Sometimes it's like a Montipora refugium. The amount of Montipora it gave away is alarming. So when people come here buying coral, I say, hey, do you want a free Monty?
Well, seriously, I do think the idea behind it is actually good because when people start up a tank and they want to have a full-blown SPS reef tank, just start with some Montipora, with some Stylophora, to really cycle that tank, get it ready for all the acros. So Montipora refugium or whatever isn't that? Yeah, it's actually a pretty good idea to make your tank ready for the acros.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
To be fair to Mrs. Elisa Sasa, hope you're good, my dear.
Hi, Elisa.
Where do we stand with the macroalgae and the fashionable ones, the dragon's breath, and all the other ones that you guys in the States have got? Because where does that stack in this conversation?
I will keep them as a dedicated aquarium for the macroalgae, just for the look at. Yes, they're very pretty. And also that sometimes when you put beautiful like the dragon breaths in your reef tank to look at, and you seriously limited what kind of fish you can have. Let me tell you one story. Back many years ago, the German breaths, the red macroalgae is so beautiful, right? So I went out and bought a ball of them, paid pretty good penny. So it's in the afternoon, I need to go cook dinner. So I just grabbed the balls of macroalgae, just temporarily stuck in my tank, and hoping that after dinner, I will just put this ball in his own tank. After dinner, almost everybody is eating, all the algae almost all gone because my tank and fox face is just eating it.
Dong, I have another niche question. How about the Halimeda?
Oh, the brush coral?
The calcareous. The
calcify.
Yeah, the calcifying algae are they as harmful as the normal types of macros, or?
I think that you probably, if I remember correctly, they're probably at lower tier, lower than 50% tier.
Okay.
But think about it, all this study is really, take it as a bucket of salt for all this exact comparison of between algae. But only thing I'm pretty sure is that the Calupa is really bad.
Yeah, Calupa is really bad.
Calupa is really bad. That's for sure. Yeah. And Chato is pretty mild.
Pretty fine. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But because obviously coralline algae is also an algae, but it's probably completely not harmful, right, to the corals. Or it's competing for space, but it's not really harmful in a more chemical way, right?
I don't think they're harmful because there's I don't think all these algae they look into the coralline algae, but coralline algae is more like Montipora, seriously.
Yeah.
And but one thing about coralline algae is that they consume so much magnesium.
Yeah.
So there's some of the literature saying that 40% of their carbonate is in magnesium carbonate form.
Yeah.
So when you're growing, Yeah, big magnesium consumer. So when your coral and algae take off in your tank and double check your magnesium level, I've seen the
Yeah.
magnesium get dropped so low by
Yeah.
the coral and algae.
It's also an explanation why
That's interesting.
some people experience a lot of magnesium consumption in their tanks, and other
Yes,
people
yes.
have
Mhm.
almost zero. It's because of the
Yep.
coral and algae growth. Yeah.
Yes,
That's interesting.
because
Didn't know that. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
theoretically, the magnesium is a catalyst.
Okay.
So what happened is that for during the calcification, the protein latch onto the magnesium and change its shape and do its magic and deposit the calcium carbonate, and then they release the magnesium back into the water. Theoretically, you shouldn't have magnesium lost, but in reality, there's about 3 to 5% of magnesium incorporated in the crystal lattice. Yeah, that's where your magnesium consumption is supposed to come from
Wow.
coral. Yeah, you're talking about 3 to 5% drop. But coral and algae, basically like 40% is magnesium carbonate. They are really consuming the magnesium as
Yeah.
the building block of the skeleton.
Also strontium, right? Strontium and magnesium, but
The
mostly magnesium.
strontium. So
It's
the
accidentally built in, right?
yes.
Yeah.
The literature I saw is that the reason why people find strontium in coral skeleton is because strontium is similar to calcium.
Yeah.
And then it's just accidentally incorporated in there. With that said, actually the scientific literature is saying that strontium basically doesn't do much biologically. And at a higher concentration, actually can become toxic.
All right, we have to
So,
move on. People are falling asleep, so let's.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Next slide.
Yeah. Next one. Okay, so now we talk about the man-made chemical warfare in reef tank. Because we are dosing this, dosing that, and we, as reefers, we also contribute to chemical warfare. So here's a paper saying that when the pH is low, aspartic acid actually can reduce the calcium calcification of coral when the pH is low. But when a scientist saying that the pH is low, they're really meaning some like 8.0, 8.1. They're not low compared to us. So some of our reef tank dropped to 7.8, 7.6, something like that. So I think in that case, the study actually is very compelling to demonstrate it at a lower pH. Aspartic acid actually is quite not so good for calcification, for coral calcification. So unfortunately, though, this amino acid is one of the major components for all the amino acid dosing.
But how come it's not beneficial? Does it have to do with the coral microbiome, or does it really affect something in the water column? But what is
yes,
the mechanism?
something to do with the mechanism, something to do with the how the interfere with the protein who deposit the calcium carbonate.
Oh, really?
Into the just it's not about the regular amino acid. Just this amino acid has a profound effect.
If I dose amino acid, I used to dose it in the past. Sometimes I always dose it at the end of the life cycle, so when pH is high. So that's actually the best time to dose it.
Oh yeah, I think that is a very valid.
All right.
Yeah, way to do it. Yeah,
Okay.
because they show the pH actually has a major play a major role.
Yeah.
Actually, let's go to the next slide, please. Here is another saying. There is a reefer-induced pollution, chemical warfare in a reef tank. Chromium. If you check all these popular trace elements package, you'll find chromium in it. And then what exactly chromium do? Okay, if you ask AI will quote you something. Oh, it's something to do with the fatty acid to help the coral. Is essential for the coral for the consuming fatty acid. Metabolite, blah blah blah. Very scientific, very convincing. Okay, let's hold that thought for a moment. First of all, chromium. is one of the lowest concentration of trace element in the seawater. Mostly come from pollution.
Yeah.
And which is very difficult for the ICP OES to detect at that kind of level range. Even MS has some difficulty to accurately measuring chromium at its appropriate level. So go to the next slide, please. Okay, so here talk about why people come up with all these fabulous advertisement about chromium uptake. Chromium is essential element. So let's look at how chromium actually do in the ocean. First of all, phytoplankton will mop most of chromium up. Okay, and then the filter feeder shellfish can capture some of the chromium-3 particles through their gill. And then fish absorbing chromium, and then by its internal in eating the microalgae, eating whatever the food chain, that's how they accumulate chromium. So there's people say, oh yeah, the study shows that the chromium is so important to the fish, but there's absolutely zero evidence about coral actually utilize chromium. Let's put that on the table. Absolutely zero, none, zip. And then chromium is being treated as a pollutant, and the phytoplankton actually is very good to mop it up. By just absorbing it to clean up the chromium. And then the fish eat the algae, eat whatever through the food chain that accumulate chromium. So now the thing is that to answer the question if actually fish benefit from chromium intake, one research I've done on that, they have two groups of fish. One feed the diet with chromium, the other one doesn't. Guess what? Absolutely no difference. Then they have another batch to feed excess chromium. Guess what? They die. So it's indicating that chromium does freaking nothing to the fish. Okay. Now, next slide, please. So the chromium controversy, it comes here. I find your lack of chromium really disturbing. So at the heart of this controversy is, in fact, that the chromium mechanism is not being fully understood. As of 2025, that's a review paper was published on chromium in a marine ecosystem. Okay, that's a review paper on a big scientific magazine as 2025, no freaking chromium to coral. And then hypothesis on the chromium that can do this whatever fatty acid metabolism. You can do the Google. Look at those beautiful advertisement of the chromium dose your reef tank. And they talk about this fatty acid kind of thing. That's for fucking human. Sorry. Yeah. And there's a scientific literature already demonstrated that the role of chromium in mammal is not transferable to fish or invertebrate.
Obviously, yeah.
So the idea is that unless you have some ultra beyond the current scientific understanding can demonstrate it dosing chromium to your coral, to your reef tank is beneficial, show me the evidence. Or just hot air bullshit. Yeah, seriously. So as of today, if you look through all the scientific literature, look at the review article, it tells you do not dose chromium in your reef tank. If not only is toxic, it probably does nothing at all.
Yeah, and there's enough present. There's for sure enough present always, right? If it's even beneficial, there will be enough in every reef system.
Exactly. Yeah. So well, people talk about copper. Copper is demonstrated is an essential element in a tiny dose.
Yeah.
But chromium, with all the scientific literature evidence saying that it's poisonous, it's toxic, it's useless in the marine ecosystem. So
well, I think
that tells you
my ICP-MS treats it as a pollutant, so that means
it is a pollutant.
It should be extremely low.
Yep. So that's why when you buy a supplement, look at the label. If you see the freaking chromium is on it, you should really think twice.
Yeah.
About trusting that that supplement.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is one thing is the reefer-induced chemical warfare. But chromium is just a tip of iceberg. There's so many other things, but we are not going to talk about them here. It's just chromium is on top of the mountain, the shining beacon of bullshit. So that's why we talk about reefer-induced chemical warfare.
So then, what would be like the moonshiner's method, for instance, that does incorporate chromium into corrections and everything like that? What would be?
I want to see the study that's showing that chromium is beneficial by moonshiner.
Mm-hmm.
I think the moonshiner just has the philosophy of keeping the trace elements at the levels of the natural seawater.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
but here's a big question.
Even if it doesn't have an active biological role, they just try to keep it at natural sea level, right? Just because you never know. Same with rubidium. I think also it's very unknown if it has any active, in any role in biological processes, but they just keep it at a certain level, which is natural sea level, just in case.
I've always wondered that, if it's not a direct correlation to the coral or the fish, is it something else in that biological process that's being used by something down that chain, whether as an actual source of, food or even like a transportation method to get something else.
That is a very good question. And actually, that is a common argument that used by people who are selling supplements.
Yeah.
Right. But the chromium is the good thing is that chromium is very clear about that it is useless for fish, useless for coral, poisonous for coral, and basically doesn't do anything but as a pollutant.
Yeah.
In
the
water.
A pollutant. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pollutant.
Alex Brooks is asking if chromium can help for hair growth, Dong.
Apparently it doesn't. Because I do not eat organic. I normally don't pay for the organic price for organic food. So I think I probably ingested so much chromium by eating junk food. But I still don't have my hair. God.
Makes two of us. Right. Next slide.
So I think that's pretty much it, right?
All right.
So that is the important slide.
Yeah.
Think twice without regular water change. But now here's an interesting thing. People say, well, if you change 10% water, you only remove 10% pollutant. Yes, that's correct. That's why regular water change is important. If you do 10% water change every 3 months, it probably doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
If you do a 10% water change every week, it may do something. Let me tell you why. Most, if not all, chemical warfare substance that can achieve a biological effect, such as make the coral sick or RTM, whatever, something, they have to reach a certain concentration. Yeah. It's not some of the best stuff simply present simply in the water column does not mean they can do the harm. They have to reach certain concentration.
Yeah.
So for example, if you
the whole dilution conversation, then
it's all dilution conversation. If you do a 10% water change, it possibly is sufficient to dilute it. So below is the level that can do harm.
Yeah.
So that's why frequent water change is more like an apple a day to keep your doctor away, that kind of philosophy. Of course, the dosing apple is not an option for us. Maybe yes. Dosing apple cider. Don't do that. So that is a preventive maintenance. Is probably is the prevent, to suppress the chemical warfare.
Mm-hmm.
Running activated carbon, yes, is not a bad thing. And there is one thing I want to talk about. I just come to my mind is polyfilter. So how is that in UK and EU? In you guys have polyfilter?
Yes.
No, do you? I think we have to import. We have to import it.
Last time, well,
yeah,
I haven't used one in a while, but
Yeah, the real polyfilter, the polyfilter brand. Hold on, let me go grab one.
Organics, metals.
Yeah. I think Seachem also has like a sort of resin, the white resin, that also absorbs.
Oh, Q-Presorb, is it? Q-Presorb?
No, it
Not
just
Q-Presorb.
it's basically doing the same thing as carbon. It just absorbs different organics, but it's regenerable, right? With hydrogen or with
Yeah, with bleach.
Yeah, that's the same.
Hydrogen
yeah,
peroxide. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So the reason I want to talk about this thing on the
Purigen,
freshwater
Purigen, yeah. that's
freshwater
it.
people. Freshwater people are really swear by this. The polyfilter. The polyfilter is not a polymer filter. For matter of fact, the polyfilter originally was designed for purify for blood transfusion.
Wow.
Yeah. Is an organic polymer that actually is a chemical filtration to remove harmful substance from blood. So it's very effective to take up like heavy metal and some of the organic compound. So that thing, well, just for my own experience, I use it. It works pretty well. You can definitely see a difference, especially on the LPS tank, LPS and leather soft coral tank. So the polyfilter is not a polymer filter, but it's a chemical filtration.
Yep.
Yeah. So that thing, it works actually better than activated carbon. And also activated carbon is all depends on what brand you buy and what kind of carbon you buy. The potency actually is dramatically different.
Yeah.
And also how clean the activated carbon is an important thing, because we are talking about chemical warfare and immediately we link to activated carbon. So because activated carbon should be something you always have on hand.
Yeah.
So, but different activated carbon are created differently. The price also dramatically vary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long did the polyfilters last, Dong? Out of interest.
I use them for like 3 weeks, and it is cheap enough to just toss it. But I do not use them as a filtration device. I dangling them in the sun, free floating, so the detritus won't accumulate on the surface. Yeah.
A quick question from Bert. The media I was referring to was the Seachem Purigen media. It's like some sort of resin filter who absorbs organics as well. Yeah.
Yes. They're also rechargeable too. The Purigen. Yeah.
So
Same
that's
thing
nice.
as the polyfilter. Yeah.
Yeah.
They all recharge by similar method, right? Is that hydrogen peroxide?
Yeah.
Yeah, or bleach. I'm not. Some of them with sodium hydroxide and some of them with bleach. I don't know which one is which. Yeah.
But Purigen is quite expensive.
Yes, but it's regenerable, so that makes it a little bit more. But all those specific resins are quite expensive. We use some resins against the phosphates instead of just using GFO. Also, those are quite expensive, but they were like regenerable 5 times or 6 times, so that compensates a bit for the cost.
Yeah.
All right. I think if we take all the information together, then the most important lesson is that we have to do water changes, right?
Yes, that's my impression. The water change definitely solve a lot of problem.
Yeah.
I think that so many people they try to like find and justify any way to get away from water changes.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's still it's tried and true. There's good reason behind it.
Even if it's just 5% a week, or it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be 20% a week. It doesn't have to be huge amounts, but and what you said, Dong, just consistency is very important. So regular water changes can be small ones, but just do them. That's also what I would advise. And in the end, it will be cheaper than a lot of other remedies and bottles, etc.
Yep.
Um,
And two, you always tell people, you know, it's the water changes have the purpose again of the stuff that we really can't quantify or
Yeah.
see or even, you know, test for, and a lot of that.
yeah.
Exactly right. Because that the thing that we can test is only the tip of the iceberg of all these chemical compound, chemical soup in a tank. We only can see tiny amount. So just for example, that's why phosphate and nitrate doesn't give you a full picture of your nutrient profile.
No.
No, not even close.
It's all indicators, right? It's all indicators for
Yeah.
much more that's going on. Yeah.
Right.
Yes. So actually I'm quite interesting about that the Oceanmo is that the company who do this all a comprehensive list of organic compound testing in the reef tank.
Yeah.
So myself I haven't do that yet.
I think Oceamo also now offers, like, first of all, organics tests, but also tests for different pesticides and medicine traces and different metabolites from medicines and chemicals. So that's quite interesting to actually do and see what's in your tap water or what accumulates in your reef tank, you know, over time.
Especially a lot of people in US actually using well water.
Yeah.
There's several cases. There's a guy came over and saying that no matter what he do, he cannot keep any coral alive. Then I said, well, are you using tap water? He said, no, he's using well water. I said, when was the last time you test your well water? He said, oh, several years ago. I said, well, you should test it. Then he tested well water. It turns out his well water is not suitable for drinking. So for all this year, he's been poisoning his whole family.
Wow.
Of course, that now his reef tank actually saved his family because with all this dead coral, that finally he tests his well water, and eventually I said, well, the best way to do it is that since he has a small tank like 20 gallon, he said, why don't you use the distilled water from supermarket? And that's ever since that. Coral grows fine, and they are also drinking this the distilled water.
Dave M777 is 10-15% of water change a month. Sorry, too little in your opinion.
I would do more, but I would do more. But also depends on your bio load, right? If you have a lot of fish, a lot of different types of corals, you might do more. But if you just do the 10-15% monthly consistently, it's always better than nothing. Because
Absolutely.
you keep those concentration of compounds low if you just consistently do them. But if you have a very high bio load and a lot of activity going on in the tank, I would say just try to do it twice a month, maybe 10%, if possible, of course.
So, yeah, totally agreed. Yeah, you can do 10% a week. That would be pretty good. Yeah,
even better.
Actually, I'm doing that. I do 10% a week.
Yeah.
That's why now the Amazon guy really hates me. So, there's one thing I do water change. I do water change through the skimmer.
Yeah, that's
skimming?
good.
Yeah, wet skimming.
Yeah.
And then the wastewater is light brown.
Yeah.
That's a lot more efficient. So that means that it's much more efficient to do the wet skimming water change. 10% of that is more efficient than just scoop out 10% from your reef tank.
Yeah,
and also that
you also take some particulates out that way, right? Not only the
I also
stuff,
suck up the detritus on the corner. So that also consider. So that would be a more efficient 10% water change. Learn how way after overdose trace element. Oh yeah. That is a no. If you want a dose trace element, don't blindly dose it. That's really a big killer.
Yep.
Another one.
Don't
don't dose trace elements based on ICP OES because for some traces they're worthless. Also, only do ICP MS when you do trace dosing. Otherwise, it's a Russian roulette.
Absolutely.
Do you think all these little bottles have helped the hobby or made it worse?
Made it
Pardon?
worse for most.
Oh yeah.
All
yeah.
these little bottles. Because years ago, when I first got in it, you'd got four in a ball, you'd got bowling, you'd got like, you know, three part. That was it. You know, you didn't have all these little bottles that started to come up.
I think for some people it made it more insightful, but especially for beginners, they gave them reasons to just skip water changes, which I think in the beginning, especially in the beginning, is just much better than dosing all the different individual traces.
Yeah, it's like the same idea with like LED lights. Is you give people too many options, and then they can do a little bit too much without understanding that you just need just enough of the basics.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So actually, at the beginning, I think that just do your water change, walk slow, don't run. And
less
when you run
is more.
fast, less is more. And many of these individual element dosing is chasing after the last 10%.
Yeah.
And very likely you will lose the other 90% by overdosing that 10%. I've seen so many cases. Seriously, I've seen so many cases. So there's a guy with a beautiful reef tank, and then he tested one. I went there and buy some frags. The one time I went there, his tank looks so like everybody's bleaching. I said, "What's going on?" I said, "Oh, my ICP said one element, like cobalt, whatever, I forget exactly, is low." So then give him a suggestion. He dose it. The next ICP come back, overshot the target by 10 times.
Wow.
And now he has a reef tank with all these dying acropora.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
that's maybe
nothing good happens fast in this game, as we say, does it? Always.
Yeah, exactly. For example, just last week that a friend of mine brought in a bunch of coral. He's moving. He's getting out of the hobby. I look at those corals. Actually, he bought a lot of coral from me, and those are my original corals many years ago. Look at that. Most of them are bleached. So I said, wow, what's going on? And we didn't carry out a long conversation because he was in a hurry. Then the next day, he brought over the leftover gears and chemicals to here. Then look at that. Holy crap. It's the whole box full of individual trace element.
Yeah.
Ever since he's doing that, things go downhill.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Right then, gentlemen, we're getting very close to the 2-hour mark. I need to do the usual very big thank you, dip of the hat and round of applause for Mr Dong Zou for that amazing presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well deserved. Thank you very much for your your contribution, as always. That's an interesting topic. Now, there's definitely a bit mind-boggling on a Friday afternoon. I do apologise. I know some people are like, "Wow, we need to watch that back." Maybe I know some of you watching it on the podcast will certainly benefit from listening to it back for sure. Leo, thanks ever so much for your input, mate.
Yeah, it's nice to be here again.
Nice to see you. Nice to see you when you're not doing your calendar poses. Yeah, you will send us an update. You will send us the final brief of the calendar.
I'm planning like maybe
wanting to buy it.
Christmas edition or something. I'm still thinking about it.
Happy days. Terrell, much love to you and Linz as well over there, my man. How's the new recruit actually?
Oh, he's
is he on the knee?
on my lap.
Oh,
wow, he got so much bigger.
I know. Big.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Hi, Baba.
Oh wow.
Oh, look at the face.
It's so
cute.
Oh,
It's amazing.
Oh.
Yeah, he'll be growing a tash soon, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
To blend in with the rest of the crowd. Right, gentlemen, thanks ever so much. Happy Friday to wherever you are. Enjoy the weekend, whatever you've got planned, reefing or not really reefing related over the weekend. Thanks for tuning in. If you haven't already done so, please give us a like and a subscribe. We will see you all soon. Take care for now. Bye-bye.